Guys, in this video we're going to be painting the, I don't know what he's called yet. How about the happy snowman? Because he looks pretty happy. So make sure you have your canvas out. Paint on your plate. I've got 6 colors: red, blue, Venetian red, looks like a burnt orange, black, white, and green. You'll also need a jar for some water or a cup or something, a couple different size brushes, and a paper towel for drying off your brushes after you clean them in your water. I'm gonna go ahead and get us started. I'm gonna do the background first. Well, you know what? First, let's take a Sharpie. Black Sharpie marker. I do recommend just black. Different colors tend to bleed. I learned that the hard way. Just so that we don't lose lines when we're painting the background and other things. We can paint right over the Sharpie, and ideally it shows through the paint. Let's do his little face. Shouldn't need to worry about the nose. I'm gonna skip the nose. Should be able to paint around that, no problem. The heart we should be able to see fine, but let's get these arms, these little twigs. So about like that. I'm gonna go ahead now and do the background. So our bigger brush, depending on the size of your canvas, will kind of determine the size of the brush you use. I'm painting on an 8x10, the small one. So this is probably big enough for me. We have our blue here. We're gonna just take a nice big swoop of white and stir it in with a small area. Again, depending on your canvas size will kind of determine how much of this color you need to make. So I'm going to keep it pretty bright, but as I paint upward, I'm going to be adding white onto my canvas so that it's brighter blue down here, and as I work up, it kind of will get lighter. That's the plan. We'll see how it goes. So I'm going to start right here, down in this lowest bit. If you get a little on your snowman, it's okay. Just be as careful as you can. You can paint right over top of the arm. As you can see, it does show through. Just make sure your paint isn't super thick, which is the case always. You don't ever need super thick globby paint. Nice smooth even coat is what we're always shooting for. Okay, so now I'm going to start kind of adding some white in. So just white on my brush. Doesn't take a lot, especially with the smaller canvas. A little bit goes a long way. And I'm gonna just swoop it across the blue. It kind of blends in. I'm gonna do the same over here. Get some of my dark blue in there. Well, the blue that I made first. Get some of that in there. Try to keep your brush strokes kind of horizontal. A little bit of white. And just swoop it over top till it blends in. Try to get about to the same point over there. That way, as I lighten upward, it will be about even. I'm not gonna stress if it's not perfect. So now that I've got a lighter shade, stir in a little bit more white. Doesn't need to be into all of it. Just take a little white on your brush. And again, no goopy globby paint. We want to still see that twig under there. If you can't, not the end of the world. Pretty easy to just kind of throw in your own twiggy shape. So now I'm just kind of putting in a little bit of my light and blue up through here, and I could take a lot of white and blend it out. And then just going back for more white. Try to dodge the little tip of his nose there. And again, trying to keep my brush strokes on the horizontal. More white. That blue is very strong. As you can see, I didn't put that much on, and it's still very, very much so blue. But you can see it's darker here, and as I go up, it gets lighter. So same over here, just streak a little bit of the blue on, some white, and I don't clean my brush in between because I'm just kind of smushing all the color together. And take a little bit more blue. So as we go down, it's a little bit less white. The hardest bit is right on the edge of him. I'm trying to be neat. There. So it's darker here, lighter up top. Beautiful. Now I'm gonna paint my snowman, his body. Get my brush cleaned out really well. A little bit of blue gets mixed in with him. That's perfectly fine because we will actually be mixing a little bit on him for shadows. My bigger brush, I'll start right with his head. Just get his whole face filled in. Go around the carrot. Clean up your edges the best you can. Go around his little earmuffs. Smooth down all your globs. As you can see, his face shows through really well with that Sharpie. If you do go over the nose, that's fine, because the pencil line actually shows pretty well. So I'm just gonna throw on a little bit more white paint just to make sure that it's nice and wet, because I want to blend a little bit of blue through. Just a little bit. I'll just take some of my lighter blue over here. Just a little on my brush, kind of just scraping the excess off. You can always put more on. It's hard to get rid of it once it's there though. So just a little bit kind of around the edge, the earmuff, and then up around his head. They come down by the scarf a little. And just very, very lightly across the top. If you get too much, clean out your brush. Just take some white. I'll show you, because mine's a little bit brighter than kind of need. Like I said, the blue is super strong color. I'm just going right on top. Kind of toning it down. A little bit goes a long way with that blue. Now I'm going to clean out my brush and paint the bottom part of his body white. Big old chunk of paint stuck in there. Okay. So same as the head, clean up your edge. You can go right over that heart. You can easily see it through the paint or go around it, whatever you prefer. And go around the scarf. And you could be using a much bigger brush than I am for this part, especially with a larger canvas. But I didn't grab a bigger one, because typically on these small 8x10s, you don't really need that big brush in too many cases. And I don't like washing brushes, so if I can get away with just using two, just use two. And the big ones are hard to wash. They hold so much paint. It takes a while to get it all out. So just make sure you get all the canvas covered. I know it's kind of hard to see where you've been, but typically it's shiny. Even when it's dry, it's got a semi-gloss sheen to it. I want this bit over here to be nice and wet, because I am going to blend a little blue in like I did on his head. Where else? Maybe a little in this area. If you don't have wet paint there, the paint, when you put blue on, it just will not blend. So a little bit on my brush, then kind of take it off on the side of my plate. Lightly brush it on the edge. A little up under the scarf, right here around the neck. Come down the side of the scarf. Get a little under in here. Just very, very little. We want just the faintest amount. Can maybe brush a little through the body. As you can see, it's very, very, very light. I'll even add a little bit more white to soften it more. So I want it very faint. There we go. Now we can start working on the rest of them. Let's get those cheeks done. They're not drawn, but we're just gonna paint some very, very light pink circles kind of around this area where he's got that little curve on the end of a smile. Pink is just a little bit of red and with quite a bit of white. And this does dry darker. All acrylic paint dries darker when it's dry. Kind of redundant there. And I'm just gonna spiral my brush around and make some cute little circles. I just put my brush right on that little dimply area, and I just circle around. So they're, you know, roughly the same size and shape. Not like that. Next, let's do earmuffs. We're gonna paint them kind of a dark red, a little bit of black, very little black. My red is getting taken over. Into quite a bit of red, just so it's just slightly darker. It does not take much black at all. Go ahead and fill these little earmuffs in. Might want a smaller brush, depending. So there we've got those. Now I'm gonna add a little bit more black into my dark red so that I can put a little bit of shadow on my earmuffs. I'm gonna swoop it kind of on the side of that one. And then on the opposite side, I guess it's the same side, just a little bit on that side. Probably could have waited for it to be a little more dry because now it just wants to blend. Very nice. I'm gonna do the heart. And then I'm just gonna do very, very bright pink. So in your little pink pile on your plate, add a nice scoop of red to that so that it's just a very, very bright pink. And I'll fill in the little heart. I'm gonna take just a little bit of white, stir it around on my dirty brush. Makes this kind of a little bit lighter shade of pink. I'm just gonna lightly brush it on one side. It's not even really noticeable. Kind of pointless step. So if you don't want to do that, you don't need to. How about the scarf next? We're gonna make a little bit lighter shade of green. So a nice scoop of white and with some green. Oh, that's just so green. Too pretty. I want it more like outdoorsy green. I'm gonna get some yellow. You will have yellow as well. You will have started with yellow and wondered where it was when I showed you my plate to start. No worries. Take a little squirt of yellow on my plate. And I'm gonna take a lot of that, stir that in with this. So it's a more, right now it's very limey, but I'm gonna just stir more green. There. That's pretty. So something like that. It takes a lot of yellow. I like that. I'm gonna paint it that color. That's cute. I'm gonna add some highlights. My green is wet still on my plate, or on my canvas, and it's still all in my brush, so I'm just gonna dip my brush in some white, stir my dirty brush in it, and I'm just gonna brush it through so it's nice and smooth. Give it a little highlight. Go down the top of this front fold one. And over here. I'm gonna really kick it on. I'm gonna add some shadow. Let's see. I'm just gonna add a little bit of this orange to some of my green. It's gonna make it kind of ugly. And in the dark areas, I'm just gonna brush a little of that on. So it's kind of the right hand side of the one that's kind of folded over. I'm gonna get in here where it overlaps. And the edge, a little edge on it. And with my pretty green that we made, that we painted the scarf to start, just on my dirty brush, it's okay, because I got a lot more of that color on there. I'm just gonna kind of flick down and put like little fringe on the bottom of the scarf. I feel like my highlights need to be a little brighter. So here's my bright green. So I have that, I just need more. It's just bright green and quite a bit more white. There we go. So it's very, very pastel. We're really gonna brighten this up. And I'm just very little paint on my brush, just kind of brushing it on there. If you want it to blend better, just take a little bit more of your green. There. Maybe put a few little ones down in my fringe. That's cute. Do the nose. I'm gonna use my smaller brush. It's my orange paint. This burnt orange, Venetian red is what it's called. And go ahead and paint your nose. I want a small brush, especially to get that point. I'm gonna add just a little bit of black to some of it, just to darken it just a little. I'm gonna put a shadow on the right-hand side, kind of coming down the edge. I'm gonna swoop it under. And then a little bit of a highlight. Take a little bit of white and a little bit of the orange. And on the left-hand side, just at the very edge, a little highlight. It's probably hard to see. It's very faint. Lastly, as far as the snowman goes, we've got the branches, the face, and the little thing between, this little coil between the earmuffs. Let's go ahead and do the branches. So we're gonna make a nice dark brown. And we can do it right where we added black to our orange, because we're gonna add more black to our orange to make a nice dark brown. Mix up enough to be able to fill in your branches. And just go right over that Sharpie that you can see. There's one. That one got a little weird. It's got a goofy little crook in it. There we go. Very cute. I'm gonna do his face. Well, I'm gonna start at the top and work my way down. That way I can rest my hand. So if I start here and then come up here, I'm gonna wanna rest my hand. So if I do this first, then all this is dry, I'm safe. And this is just black paint, small brush. This probably isn't the best brush, but I'm gonna do my best. And I'm just gonna go in and cover up all the Sharpie. Get my curlicue on. And the eyes. And his little mouth. And then lastly, we just have some snowflakes. I'm going to do some big ones and some little ones. Some just dots and some like stars, if you will, kind of like big asterisks. So just some white paint. I'm going to use my smaller brush and be careful you don't rest your hand on any wet paint, especially the black. So I'll just do a line down, then I'll do a line across, so I have a plus sign. And then I'll just do an X through the plus sign. So there's a nice big snowflake. Another one up in here. Big plus sign. Then an X, or you can do the X first and then the plus sign. Whatever floats your boat. Need just a little one up in here. And you can put these wherever you want, however many you want, whatever size you want. And then I'm going to fill in with just some little dotty snows. There, that looks good. Let me just step back and give it a once over, make sure I'm happy with it. Yep, I think that's cute. I'm gonna go ahead and sign my name. Oh, when did that happen? Let me try to touch that up a little with a little bit of pink. Just a dab, because I'll never match it exact. There. Okay. And then down here, just very, very light blue. I kind of sneak my signature down in the snowman. And done. Hope you enjoyed this video, and perhaps I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.